Imagine California, the beating heart of America, torn in two. This isn't a Hollywood blockbuster, but a real proposal shaking the state's political landscape. Governor Gavin Newsom is fiercely pushing to redraw electoral maps to bolster Democrats, but Republicans counter with a bold plan: split California into two distinct states. In the next few minutes, I'll dive you into this epic battle, brimming with intrigue, betrayal, and twists that could reshape the nation's fate. Stay until the end, because this story will leave you speechless and pondering the future of democracy. Get ready for a journey into the core of American politics. Splitting California would be a monumental, drawn-out process, permitted by the state constitution but requiring approval from the state assembly, with its 80 members representing diverse districts. The Senate, with 40 senators debating issues from education to climate, and ultimately, the voters in a potentially historic election. The two-state solution would divide the state vertically. The West would keep the San Francisco Bay Area, a global tech hub; Los Angeles, the entertainment capital; Santa Barbara, with its scenic coast; and San Diego, a military and border gem. This region would house 3/4 of the population, about 30 million, driving tech, film, and tourism. The East would encompass rural areas. The North with its forests, the Sierra Nevada, the fertile Central Valley, America's breadbasket, and the Inland Empire, a logistics hub with roughly 10 million people facing droughts, wildfires, and an agricultural economy. Republicans, often sidelined in Democrat-dominated California, passionately defend the split, arguing it would give rural voters a voice, silenced by new congressional maps set for a special election on November 4th. James Gallagher, a northern legislator rooted in farming communities, stresses that this affects water rights, critical for crops in an arid state; fuel prices, hitting families and truckers; wildfire resources, vital in a climate-driven era; and the clash between ranchers and environmentalists. It's more than politics. It's a fight for identity and California's future. Newsom's plan to gerrymander the maps has spectacularly backfired, plunging Democrats into panic. The two-state proposal, sparked by a local Republican, reveals that Newsom's scheme not only failed but could fracture the state. He spent millions to convince voters of his success, despite criticism over housing crises, rising crime, and pandemic handling. His goal is to scrap existing maps, drawn by an independent bipartisan commission for fairness, and create new ones maximizing Democratic seats. The November special election follows Texas approving new maps, where no independent commission exists, just a legislative vote. California's stricter rules mean Newsom seems to aim at sidelining Republican voters to gain midterm power. Yet, even Democrats hesitate to abolish the commission before the midterms, fearing backlash from moderate voters. The idea of two Californias, one urban and progressive, the other rural and conservative, would be a political earthquake, altering the Senate and Electoral College. Republicans resist fiercely, taking the case to the state Supreme Court, while Trump hints at suing Newsom, escalating the fight nationally. KTLA 5's Eaton Wallace reports from Sacramento. It's a fight for democracy, says Senator Tony Strickland, who, with the Dillon Law Group, filed an emergency petition to block Proposition 50, which would pause the commission until 2030 and redraw maps to flip 5 Republican districts to Democratic, aiding House seat gains. Newsom defends his plan as a response to Republicans in Texas and other red states, backed by Trump, securing their own seats. But critics are harsh. Newsom's losing it, they say. Proposition 50 is likely to fail, per polls showing majority opposition. His social media and podcast efforts fall flat, and his ambition, as Charlie Kirk notes, seems boundless. In 2027, Newsom will no longer be governor and may run for president, aiming to be a Democratic hero. But his plan is unlikely, as Republican states have more seats to gerrymander. Democrats have already optimized their states, and voters resist further changes, fearing instability. This sparks panic among Democrats, seeing their congressional influence slip. Trump racks up successes, and states like Texas, Iowa, Utah, and Indiana redraw maps to secure advantages. NBC's Steve Kornacki explains Republicans hold a slim House majority, 220 to 215, but are less vulnerable than in 2018 when they lost 40 seats. Only 3 Republicans represent districts Trump didn't win, while many Democratic seats are at risk. This gives Republicans a midterm edge, like playing at home. Newsom knows Democrats are unpopular and banks on a Proposition 50 miracle. But voters and the Supreme Court resist. Brian Jones slams the maps for splitting communities and violating redistricting principles. Newsom's in panic, while Trump thrives. The governor faces daily headline humiliations, with failures in housing, homelessness, and crime. That's it from Zone Media Network. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm Griffin, your host.